Harry Maguire is the only fit centre-back for Manchester United versus Coventry. Could they play under 18 star Jackson that's in the squad? Could McTominay fill in at centre-back, or is it going to be Casemiro, which is being reported? Manchester United squad thinner than ever. And what is causing those injuries? Is there a little of neglect going on in the training camp? We will talk about that. But before we talk about that, a story has come out from Malik of the Mirror saying that Ten Hag could walk out and he's not happy over the lack of assurances given by Ineos. Should Ineos be communicating better with Ten Hag, or has Ten Hag's poor performances, which isn't all on Ten Hag, it's massively on the players as well, maybe the reason why he doesn't deserve those assurances? Yet, we've also got other stories that Omar Broad is getting right to work at United and working on a couple of deals. And we'll talk about the Manchester United leaked lineup ahead of the Coventry game. But let's start with this Ten Hag story, as I feel like it's been the talking point on Twitter right now. Sources close to Ten Hag believe he will walk out at the end of the season if he does not get assurances from Ratcliffe's Ineos group about their commitment to him, was said by Malik of the Mirror. Now, this is probably the third time we've heard a story about this in the last maybe 2-3 months. And here's the situation with it. I think the speculation about Ten Hag's future is annoying. And I almost think Ineos, in some way, kind of need to shut up that speculation, because I'm fed up of De Zerbi one day, Potter the next day, Ten Hag staying the next day, Southgate the next day, Zidane the next day. As someone that reports on Manchester United news and all the news, even though half of the news I report on, I say to you guys, don't think this is going to happen. You know, it's frustrating because every day we get a new story about the manager situation, the speculation Ineos are just sort of leaving there. Now, the fact that Ineos haven't addressed the speculation or given any assurances to Ten Hag publicly or privately says to me that doesn't look good for Ten Hag. And, you know, we got leaks last week saying there's a feeling in the dressing room that Ten Hag knows he's going because his demeanour's changed massively, and there's loads of leaks and shifting leaks in the last week that Ten Hag's going. So is this coming out because Ten Hag sort of knows he's going and his attitude has changed and he wants those assurances because he's kind of getting frustrated now? Because whether you like Ten Hag or not, that is his job, that is his livelihood. You do want some assurances of your future. I can imagine that it's very stressful for Ten Hag, and I think that maybe Ineos maybe privately need to communicate what they want to do if a decision has been made. Now, I don't know if Ineos has made a decision, because the information I got was it's massively going to depend on the managerial candidates that are available and how much they cost. Ineos right now looking at managers and the fee and determining if that manager that they can get for this fee is worth that fee, and if that manager can take us further than Ten Hag. Because if it's Southgate or Ten Hag, I think Ineos will believe that Ten Hag can take us further than Southgate. But Ineos may believe that Potter or De Zerbi can take us further than Ten Hag, and maybe that's why they haven't made a decision, because De Zerbi's expensive. They need to analyse the fee. Potentially Potter doesn't want to go to United, or Zidane doesn't want to go to United. That's the problem. I think with Ten Hag, like, he should get some assurances at least privately, and that I think this sort of speculation needs to stop. But I think if he was 100% staying, and they knew he was 100% staying, I think the speculation would stop. I think it's the fact that results and performances have been so bad, which aren't necessarily all of Ten Hag's fault, but he has a part to play tactically in some of them, where Ineos probably aren't 100% sure if they're going to keep him or not, so they've led the speculation. So I have sympathy for Ten Hag, but I also understand why he hasn't got assurances, because, well, it's not been particularly good. Ten Hag does have options because he is a good manager. He did well at Ajax. He obviously has Bayern and Ajax that are interested in him. And I think if Ten Hag does leave and all these managers are so-called rejecting Bayern, he could get the Bayern job, he could get the Ajax job. There's no doubt in my mind he's a good manager. And I think Ineos' decision will look at the managers available and if they think they're better than Ten Hag or not. Continuing on, talking about injuries, and I tell you what, injuries have been a big reason behind Ten Hag's failure this season, massive part. And is Ten Hag to blame for some of those injuries? We will talk about that, because Mason Mount, Willy Kambala and Amrabat are absent and haven't travelled to London. Amrabat, that hasn't even been playing on the pitch, is injured. Willy Kambala is injured, and of course Mason Mount is injured again. I mean, Mason Mount, man, you're turning into Anthony Martial. Mason Mount's been the Anthony Martial of this season. He's been keeping the medical staff, him and Martin has been keeping the medical staff busy all season. Romano confirmed Harry Maguire is the only fit centre-back available for United versus Coventry. And Varane, Lissandro Martinez, Evans, Victor Lindelof and Willy Kambala all out injured. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 injured centre-backs out of 6. I mean, not many teams have 6 centre-backs anyway. Arsenal have played Gabriel and Saliba as their 2 centre-backs, I think, every game this season, bar 1 in the Premier League. And then they can have Ben White go in there. Or then they can just even fill someone else in there if they really needed to or really wanted to. But we've gone through 6. We've gone through, something like 38. I think we've gone through like 41 defensive pairings in like 48 games this season, or something ridiculous. But this is our 60th different injury this season, which is crazy. And Romano is saying that Casemiro is being tested at centre back with Maguire, which for me, nightmare. absolute nightmare that's going to be. I'm not confident for that Coventry game. I just feel like that's a nightmare. In the squad, you can just see here, Bayendiru got an injury and he's not played. Anana will be in goal. Delo left back, Wan-Bissaka right back. Maguire and Jackson could be the centre backs, but I think it's going to be Maguire and Casemiro. And then we'll have McTominay in midfield with Fernandes and Maino. Where's Maino? Maino isn't there. I panicked. I was like, wait, don't tell me Maino's out. Don't tell me Maino's out. And then up top, it'll probably be Anthony Rashford Garnacho. Sorry, Hoyland Rashford Garnacho. Maybe Anthony Ahmed come off the bench. I mean, look how young the squad is. So you go 1 Anana, 2 Heaton, which is academy technically, 3 Bayendiru, 4 Delo, 5 Wan-Bissaka, 6 Maguire, 7 Jackson, so that's 2 academy, Oganai 3 academy, Amas 4 academy, Maino 5 academy, McTominay 6 academy, Garnacho 7 academy, Rashford 8 academy, Wheatley 9 academy, Forson 10 academy. You could even argue that, you know, Ahmad's technically academy, even though we brought him back like 17, so I don't think that counts. But there's 10 academy players in the squad. I mean, it's ridiculous, the injuries. And look, I think there's a multitude of things. I think you can't blame one thing. You can't say we're cursed because I think it's too many injuries to be a coincidence. 60 different cases of injury this season. I think there's many things. I think the workload, too much running and not enough tactical work and training has probably contributed. We've had a lot of leaks from players saying that under Ten Hag it's run, intense drills, but they don't do tactical work. And that's one of the reasons they struggle to understand tactics. Now, we know these Man United players are kings of making excuses, but when you watch us this season, you might have to give the players some leniency on that. You know, we've heard that Ten Hag training is the most intense, and it's very intense, whereas we know at Manchester City, because they have so many matches, they do a lot of tactical work and off the ball sort of organisation work in between, whereas Ten Hag is running. And if you look at a lot of the players getting injured, they've barely played many minutes this season, and they're all muscular injuries which have been picked up in training. You look at the intense schedule of last season, of course, the World Cup has contributed to more injuries this season because it's not just United, but it's every club's getting more injuries, and we do just have injury-prone players like Martial and that lack of luck. I think some of it comes down to poor management, and that isn't necessarily on Ten Hag, but Luke Shaw was given the all clear to come back. Played versus Luton, got injured again, was out for the rest of the season, rushed him back. Martinez in September was told he was ready to play and fit to be back. Turned out his foot injury hadn't fully healed, and then he was out for 4 months from September to December. Then we brought him back in December. That wasn't anyone's fault. That was a contact injury with Kufau. But then when he came back from that injury, he hadn't fully healed. We'd rushed him back again. Martinez is out even longer. Bad medical team that is on not detecting injuries. Casemiro went abroad because he didn't trust the Man United medical team. Told Casemiro he's fit to play. Went abroad. They said no, have a couple of weeks off. You're not fit to play. Barcelona doctors, they discovered an injury that the Man United medical team didn't uncover. And then obviously I think bad management, you know, recruitment. Why we let Reguilon go? That put pressure on us to rush back Luke Shaw. Reguilon could have been of some use. I think that's on the recruitment, but I think the sports science and the injury department is massively underfunded. It's not good enough. They need to go. Ineos need to overhaul that. We do have to look at Ten Hag and the coach's training regime. We do have to look at the recruitment of players as well. I think there's a multitude of factors that contribute to the injury crisis. Of course, the workload, the World Cup, but you know, people remember we're out of Europe. We've got 1 game a week. Most of the players that are getting injured are barely even like playing, and like Bayendiru got an injury, you know. So it's definitely something sus going on behind the scenes. Talking other bits and bobs, it was said Barada is a starting work. Barada, who's formerly due to start work as Man United's chief executive in July, was influential in the appointment of Jason Wilcox. And Man United are in the market right now for a right-sided centre-back, central midfielder and striker. Depending on what happens in terms of outgoings, they could also look to bring in a wide forward and fullback. So Omar Barada's right at work. He's obviously brought in Jason Wilcox, but apparently he and Jason Wilcox and Dan Ashworth, when he's in charge, and those currently at United, are looking at a right-sided centre-back, a midfielder and a striker. They're the number 3s, but they also want to bring in a right winger and a fullback as well. They seem to be the 5 key areas. I think second centre-back's number 6. Second midfielder's number 7. We're not going to get 7 signings. I think it will be 1 centre-back, 1 midfielder, 1 winger, 1 striker. I mean, the way things are looking, we might not even finish in Europe at this rate, with Chelsea and Newcastle catching us up and looking better than us. So we might only have 1 game a week. So going and only adding 1 centre-back and 1 midfielder might not be the end of the world. But I think with the centre-back injuries we've had, we need 2 centre-backs. I'm at the point where maybe we get 1 solid, amazing centre-back, and then we get Tosin of Fulham that can just be there for depth. I mean, I wouldn't let Varane walk for free with the injury crisis we've got going on. Not that Varane is always fit, but Varane has been our most available centre-back. No player has been available for more games than Varane this season, who's currently out injured, but Lindelof's been injured all season. Evans has been injured all season. And I think you do have to sometimes look at Ten Hag, the coaches, and the training sessions. But listen, people, thank you for tuning into today's show. I will be back in the morning if any interesting news comes out. If not, I will be back around 3 o'clock for a Manchester United versus Coventry watch-along. And I can't lie, I'm scared, I'm worried, I'm not I'm not confident, to be honest. We should be confident we beat Coventry, but they beat Wolves. Wolves are a good side. We haven't looked good in any of our games, even against, Brentford, who barely won lately, and we've been outplayed in a lot of our games, and with the injuries as well. I'm not confident, but hopefully United surprise us in a good way. Thank you for watching. Bye.